Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Straight Vibing with Lady J. We are outside today. It is 82 degrees out. It's fucking hot. It's supposed to go up to like in the 90s for the next 10 days, which is really hot for this time of year up here, especially because it's on the average we get to like maybe in the high 70s, but I'm going to enjoy it because I rather be on the plus side than on the negative side. So we're going to do that. You know me, I'm always keeping on the positive, so that goes for my weather too. Anyways, on today's episode, I wanted to actually kind of branch off from and take off from my last stream when I was talking about adoption. I want to touch light on my experiences growing up, of what I was exposed to sexually. I did mention that when my parents had adopted me, I was already rubbing myself down there. Obviously, someone, had touched me down there and what have you, and that carried on into my years, into my adulthood, even to a point to this day. I remember at a young age doing masturbating. Is really what it's called. I remember doing these things. And when I was about 6, 7 years old, we lived in this apartment, and there was this kid down the hall that I always used to play with. And she lived with, of course, her mom and her grandpa and her uncle, her mom's brother. And a couple of times while I would be playing over there or whatever, we'd be left alone with the uncle. And I remember specifically on 2 different occasions when he had actually rubbed me down there. And at that time, my thought process, I was young. I didn't know. I didn't realize what he was doing. I just already knew from what I was doing prior of the release that I would get from it. And like I said, that went through my years in school. It affected my schooling. Teachers had brought it up in school. There were, it was a behavior that I would have in school. Not saying that I would go touching people or anything like that, but it was just things that I would do that would kind of, why is your daughter doing this type thing? So, I been exposed to that. And then there was someone else that was a friend of the family that also touched me down there when we would take a bath together. He was like maybe 4 years older than me. So growing up, being touched down there, when I lost my virginity at the age of 13, it took me to a whole nother level. It was like, oh, this is fun. This is exciting. My thought process at the time. And to, engage in, being promiscuous and just being careless. It's, as I stated before, I landed up in prostitution. And, through many, many, many years, it's been some form of sexual abuse, sexual actions, all that type of stuff. And it scarred me. It scarred me on so many levels as far as having relationships, feeling abandoned when a guy would, do his thing and then go about his business like nothing ever happened and stuff like that. There were at times when I would legitimately cry and feel like I was just left abandoned. It was like, and over time that ended up causing anger issues. And hence, as I just stated before, I'd be in toxic relationships. So a lot of my responses and my reactions all link back to what I was exposed to at a young age and going on into my adulthood. And when did I really identify with that to link everything together? I wasn't dumb. I knew what was going on, but again, it was a thing of self-love, and I didn't love myself, and I was just in a false belief of what self-love was. And I felt empowered. But now when I look back at it, the empowerment was very toxic. It wasn't empowering as the way it should have been, and my views on men and how they conducted themselves and all that kind of thing. It was just, depending on the situation, at times I'd be very, very angry and I'd provoke situations. I had gotten physical I had provoked the physicality of certain situations, um, and I got off on that in a sense that not physically got off, but mentally got off that I could do something like this. I could actually be the aggressor and spark something off. And it wasn't healthy by any means. And it's it's something else how over time, when you go through life and you grow and you reflect, and when you really hold yourself accountable for things, it opens your eyes to so many things. It helps you realize why you said these things when this would be said, why you would react this way when certain things were done towards you. It was just kind of like, it was like a defense mechanism. And, I look back at it now, and it's sad to think that I didn't love myself and I subjected myself to a lot of what I experienced in my life. And at times, like as of today, I check guys on their behavior. I have talked about it on here that, we don't know what a person has gone through. And sometimes when we make comments or do certain things to somebody that has been scarred on, in their lifetime, it brings those feelings up. It makes a person feel a certain way, and sometimes they don't realize the response they're giving. They don't realize how unhealthy it is, and I have to bring it to men's attention that just because a female is, conducting herself a certain way, that doesn't give you the right to talk to her anyway or treat her any certain way. It doesn't matter, because you don't know where she's been. You don't know what those things are a result of. So you're part of that problem. You become part of that, not knowing, you know what I mean? But to that person, ends up being more damaging and more, hurtful. And it takes a lot for some folk to get over that. Some people just can't. They're just built different, that they can't get over that pain. And then there's some that can overcome that and just find healing, right? But again, it all comes with self-worth, what you believe your self-worth is. And if you keep subjecting yourself into an environment, where you're going to continue to be treated that way, it's, you got to learn how to fight for yourself. You got to stand strong on what you believe in. It doesn't matter what people think is right or wrong, because everybody is different. Everybody's traumas are different. So to judge somebody based off of where they've been in life, whether it's in the sex trade industry or anything like that, that ain't no different. I know people that have been sexually abused and they're not in the sex trade industry, but guess what? They're fucked up on drugs, or they have addictions. There's an addiction that fills that, whether it's an addiction to sex, whether it's an addiction to gambling, drugs, attention. There'll be some form of an addiction there to replace the spirit of rejection and sexual abuse and all that. And a lot of us don't realize that. We don't look at the science, if you will, because when you really want to break it down, if you look back, if you research shit, it's linked. It isn't just, oh, you're just grabbing shit out of thin air. No, I'm not. If you were to ask everybody that's in the sex trade industry, 90%, I can put my life on it, at least 90% has been exposed to some form of abuse or rejection in their life. And for myself, um, There may be times I expose myself more skin than usual, but that doesn't give you, like I say, the get out of jail free card to come at me sideways, because I'll fuck you up on sight. I don't give a fuck. But some people aren't like that. But of course, we're mindless, because when we are giving a message, regardless of what that message is, 9 times out of 10, we don't think of what that person that we're telling, how they're receiving it, what they have been through, you know, and how they perceive it. Because what you mean one way, what you may think is an act of love in your eyes, may not be an act of love in their eyes. It's a form of abuse. So be mindful of these things when you come in contact, because it's not just women, men too. I mean, you're seeing numbers at an alarming rate of, you know, men coming out and saying that they have been sexually abused, whether it's been by their coach or, you know, whatever. You just don't hear it in droves like you do about females, but that doesn't make it okay, whether you're male or female. And you know, it takes, like I said, it takes a lot to come from that, to rise up above that, and to really be like, I know my worth. I know I'm not that person. You know, it's for me, like I've said before, I've been engaged physically with a man. And at the time that we were engaged physically, there would be an inner anger that'd be like, I want to, like, ooh, not not kill him. I wouldn't say that. That wasn't the thought. But anger would surface. And it's like, well, how the fuck can I be in this and be angry? And it's like, well, when that's all you know, or it's been like that most of your life, again, it becomes a default mode. And at times, as much as you know how to flick that switch, that switch isn't completely functional, because when you think it's off, there's still a little bit of spark in it. You know what I mean? That could still trigger it off. So again, we have to be very mindful about the things that we do as individuals to ourselves, what we subject ourselves to, as well as people that we put ourselves around, and to the people that we're around. You know, you really got to be mindful of things you say. A lot of motherfuckers just don't give a shit, and that's unfortunate. It really is, you know. And sometimes checking somebody, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, and you know, they're good. But sometimes that's not the case. And for myself, like, I think back on these situations. I think back of the men that abused me. And to this day, there are guys that make comments, and I'm just like, you claim you respect me, you claim you love me, or what have you. I understand we're physical beings. I understand you have sexual desires, as do I. But that doesn't give you the right just to talk to me any old way and be like, yo, I woke up with my dick hard. How is that any different from a motherfucker that's looking for sex at 7:30 in the fucking morning? Think about it. It doesn't matter the exchange. And for y'all that are oblivious to this, when you engage in sex with somebody, that spiritually binds you. So imagine someone that has been in the sex trade industry, and the people that they have engaged with, they've got all that on them, and then you come along with your shit and put that on top of what they already been through. Do you understand how much more damage you're adding on top of what they already endured? Think about it. A lot of people don't think these things. And, you know, we as individuals, we're only accountable for ourselves. And sometimes we have to have our attitude checked at the door in order for us to realize that we need to make a fucking change. Because sometimes our words and our behaviors are inflicting damage to others, as well as yourself. So it doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter what you do. Know that you can come up from whatever damage you've experienced in your life, whether it's sexual or physical. I mean, at some capacity, you know, we're all damaged. Some are more damaged than others. But we're quick to make it like we're not damaged and make someone look more damaged than we are. And sometimes we're more damaged than the person that we're making look more damaged than us. That's the sad part. And it's hard when you've been a certain way for so long, and you know your default mode, it's just what you're known to do. You're known to say these things, you're known to react this way, you're known to engage in this, engage in that. Again, it's a process to switch that out and get a whole new prospect on how you view things and how you decide to execute your responses. You know, we are responsible for ourselves, but at the same time, we can deeply impact the people around us, knowingly or not knowingly. And we have to be mindful of these things. In this day and age, there are so many broken people walking around lost as fuck. And here you go ahead and say some dumb shit or do some dumb shit and just make it worse for them. Just remove yourself from a situation if you're uncertain, or communicate it, or depending on the situation. Like, you know, you have to look at it in front of you and decide how you want to go about that. But in this day and age, we need to be more mindful. We need to be more accountable for words and for actions. I wanted to talk about that because after talking about the adoption thing, I thought back of when I expressed about me touching myself down there when my parents adopted me at 13 months. Now, can you imagine? Someone touched me down there under a year old. I already knew how to masturbate at a year. Tell me that isn't fucked up. My innocence was already stripped away before a year. So these people you see walking around you, people that you have in your life, there may be someone out there that has not disclosed what the hell they've been through in their life, and they could be the same motherfucker that has their innocence stripped away at a very young age, before they could even fucking walk. And you guys want to fucking sit there and carry on and make these fucking comments and all this type of shit. The shit needs to stop. It's one thing if you're in a playing field and, you know, there's an even exchange between this person and that person. Then, again, like I've said before, you have to gauge it. But just fucking be mindful. Because it could be your words or your actions that pushes them to the edge, and they may end up taking their life. You don't know that. God's hand has been on me since I was a kid. He promised my mom that he was going to take care of me. He's done just that. When I was in prostitution, I had two different situations, 2 different cities. 2 different ladies come to me, said the same friggin' thing, the same message. This isn't where God wants you. You're better than this. But when I was told these things by these 2 different ladies, even though I was raised Christian and believed in God, it was like the devil was in me and was just like, yeah, whatever. But there was still a part of me within that knew that those 2 ladies were right. And even though I've rose up from that and I'm still going through shit, I'm strong. But I know people that haven't been as strong and are still walking around lost and even more broken than they were even 6 months ago. So I just had to bring this to your attention. I had to, you know me, I'm going to speak my truth. I have no problem speaking my truth, none whatsoever. Because if speaking my truth is going to help one freaking person to open their eyes and see their worth and fix their shit, then I've done what I needed to do. I don't give a shit about the haters. Like I always say, there is nothing that you can say about me that I haven't already said about myself. So I want to thank you for chiming in. I hope you guys are having a super blessed day. I hope you guys have a super blessed rest of the week. Happy summer. We are officially here. Friday, I don't know Friday if I'm going to be, if you see the light on, I'm here. If you don't, it's summer. I may be all over the map. I might get, now that jet setting is about to resume, I'm going to be heading places, but I'm taking y'all on the road with me. So just know that. So this summer, we're going to be taking some adventures. So I look forward to sharing these adventures with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be straight vibing with me, because you could have been doing anything else. And here you are, being part of the Straight Vibing family. Be the kings and queens that you are, that you deserve to be. Thank you for the love and support. Continue vibing, whatever your vibe is. Until the next vibe session with Straight Vibing with Lady J, y'all stay blessed, and I'm out of here. Bye.